Oh, I think Dr. Gideon had an issue.
Yeah, and he was talking so fluent. The network was so balanced. I wonder why that we just got live now, and
Yeah,
he has some glitches,
yeah,
But it's okay. I'm sure.
yeah.
I'm
When
sure.
he joins, we'll take it from there.
Yeah, we'll take it from there. Brian, you heard what Doctor was talking about. He's talking about them growing up. While he was growing up, they listened in Nigeria here. They grew up listening to music from Congo and Central Africa, and mostly those music also came through Cameroon.
Yeah,
They were mostly Cameroonian music.
yeah,
So I was just trying to get his thoughts on how he will feel today if some people in Cameroon or some people in Nigeria say, no, let's not listen to Cameroon music.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, I mean, this cannot be overemphasized that the difference between Cameroon, or what seems to have portrayed what is now called a difference between Cameroon and Nigeria, is just political boundaries.
yeah.
Yeah, when I see some of you guys, I met some guys that came to visit Oto in Nigeria. Okay, you even spoke to them. While I was talking with them, I'd had to tell them, man, you guys, man, are you sure you are from Cameroon?
Yeah.
So it'd be sad that we are now trying to say that, okay, stop, don't listen. Somebody in Cameroon will say, no, let's not listen to Nigerian music. Let's focus on our own music.
Yeah.
But again, that might be because they feel like if they just listen to consume Cameroon music, it will help the industry.
Yeah.
Know.
Yeah, I see.
But then I want to ask you, in terms of the market, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure artists in Cameroon will make more money if they have access, if they also have Nigerian market. And so also is the Nigerian artist.
Yeah, obviously. Because we're in the market now. If you use the word market, then it that word packs in a lot of things that go to the point where, for even the purposes of businesses, competitors have to follow the other person, right? And it blows my mind when I see strategies that like big companies take. You see like Microsoft having shares in Facebook and stuff like that because they make money, you see. So in terms of this thing, I think that one of the most fluid way that I think of it is that it's like evolution. We are trying to optimize business, and we would have ideas that some of them may be perfect, some of them may not be perfect. We may have to test them, implement them, and fail, and then move on. You see, so sometimes I try to look at it from that angle, but it only gets really, really worse when like people don't, let's say, if we don't think objectively. You see what I mean? Because like instead of testing an idea and failing, you can spend more time and think about it and try to figure out stuff, prove it on paper before you try to implement it, and that requires critical thinking. You see, so if not, we'll just jump into hasty conclusions and actions.
Yeah, true. I hope that I hope that whoever is saying all these things do not really have some bias or some sinister ideas behind his thoughts. I just want to first of all accept the fact that it's just like what Doctor was saying here. Some kind of cultural preservation. And celebrating your own identity.
Yeah.
I hope that is really what it is. If that is what it is, good. But that still does not mean that you shouldn't consume, your neighbor's music.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, that it packs in a lot of things a lot of detail that we ignore, and that's why I was telling you those stories. Like some of us grew up going to the market, listening to Nigerian music, Agatha Moses. Even some of those that are into music today probably started doing that because they found that their neighbors did it this way. You see, and even in places people used to go to churches that have influence from Nigeria, like the pastors and the rest, because of the way they worship. When people needed these big bands music. They'll go to Nigeria, buy the pastor, like especially the Apostolic Church, where they used to sing all night and shout. And, like they had a lot of Nigerian influence. So a lot of people grow up in that environment. If you grow up now and you just want to cut it, it's a bit sinister.
Yeah, you're continuing a whole lot of history and all of that.
Yeah, ignoring a lot of detail that might come back and bite you.
Such as what?
Sorry?
I said, such as what do you think might come back?
I mean, I pretty much just spelled out that you grow up in that energy and then one day you just want to cut it off. Like, it does not make sense for a start. And if things don't make sense...
How would that bite you? They probably think that nothing will bite them, you know.
So, and if things don't make sense, there's bound to be like contradiction. So you start seeing that first, either your reputation, all right? Because now when you want to go and deal internationally, it will bite you in the sense that you are cutting off from this thing that formed to you, so I can't trust you. That's one way, man. Like there's just a lot of
and when you were just talking, it came to my head. You know, you would have made yourself a stereotype. You know, if you cut off yourself from Nigeria and you want to do business with Mali, the Malians will be like, oh.
That's what I'm saying. It's a reputation.
Know, so you can turn yourself into some kind of stereotype that you do not really wish.
Exactly. Hello. Welcome back, Doctor. Yeah.
Millions already to be on this show. Really appreciate. We have always defeated the internet. Don't take your time. We know we are aware about the challenges about the internet. We strive here to defeat it and have our program successfully. And giving over 100, like 80-90%, we've always succeeded and had successful shows.
Yeah, Isaac. So you go on. Let me do something up. I'll be back like shortly.
All right,
you can, keep chatting with that.
Hello, Doctor.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Very well, loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir, loud and clear.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, great.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry about the challenge. Challenge that took me by surprise.
Oh my God. It's okay. We deal with that here almost on a daily basis, and somehow we always manage to succeed and have a smooth program.
Yeah, I'm back.
So it's okay, sir.
Yeah, take your time. So yes, are you ready? You can just signal me and we'll move on.
So you're ready, sir?
It's frozen again.
Yeah. Wow, nice. You know, I always actually thought that Makosa Awilo Lobomba is actually a Cameroonian.
No, it's not.
You know.
Yeah.
He's from Congo.
But the thing is, all of us, right? If you look at the history of Africa, we came from somewhere else. It's just that we are used to understanding this when it comes to other nations. Like you could hear that Americans left Europe, went to America, and we may not even think of that happening in Africa. There are people that left from one place and went to another place. So like my tribe, I'm told in our history that we left Congo. Yeah, and came to... First of all, that's why we have the same culture with people around Calabar. They have this ekpe, and then across different places. It's almost like even evolution. In Darwin's theory, that he was showing that there are some species that were found in Africa, and then you see them in South America. So we're probably one, and then it moved to some other place when it split. So we as humans too, we move like that, just like birds that fly around because of like better places.
You know, this is what I always think about when people try to say, this one is not from this land, this
Yeah.
one is not from my state, this
Mm-hmm.
one is not my an indigent.
Mm-hmm.
I think that humanly speaking, it's so very unfair to rub it on anybody's face, especially, if you have somebody, if the person likes the community his person was given birth there and you grew up there.
Uh-huh.
Because at the end of the day, all of us migrated from one point to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I'm from Southern Kaduna. I'm sure when Doctor comes, if Doctor was here, he would have reaffirmed that. We heard that the people of Boju came from up from Taraba State.
Uh-huh.
That is the northeast of Nigeria.
Yeah.
That's where my people came from, and settled now in Kaduna State. So if we came from there a lot of years ago and we came, it means that we also just moved to this place. And
Exactly.
so if we move to this place, I mean, of course we should have the hospitality of accommodating anybody that wants to live with us peacefully.
Obviously. Obviously.
Yeah, this was what I was trying to say yesterday. Rather than saying that this one is not from here, because at the end of the day, if you say it's not from here, did you sprout out from the ground from here? You moved from somewhere to this place.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
and actually
yeah,
that also there's an echo somewhere. So and actually that also omits that way of thinking, like it it omits a very important point that we all know, but we seem to forget it. I'm saying so because a lot of people are influenced by the Bible. So there's a story of Abraham who welcomed angels, who told his wife that he's gonna, who told his wife that she will have babies, and that the husband Abraham, he's gonna have a son. Right? She first of all laughed that that's not possible. She's old. But the important thing there is that Abraham, they were trying to show you hospitality. Like he tried to treat his guests well. They made a feast, and he used to even go out and look for guests and invite them to wash their feet. So that's because you never know who is an angel, and that happens in all civilizations. Even if you go to like ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, they used to treat uh, strangers very well, because that could be an angel that is visiting you, or a god that has transformed as some traveler. So people know that, and that's why today you have diplomatic immunity. If you go seek for asylum somewhere, they protect you.
yeah, you were
That's where it
accepted.
comes from. Easy. So now, when we look at it at a small scale like this, tribes, people coming, oh yeah, we forget that the person that comes, maybe is a trader. They will teach you how
Yeah.
to do this. Or and that's how skill always enters society. It's from tradespeople that are moving around.
Yes, exactly. It brings civilization. That's how we are. That's why we are where we are today in the world. The civilization is by movement. People moving to new places and sharing their ideas. That is
Yeah,
basically what civilization is all about.
yeah,
Foreign ideas, things you don't know, you welcome it, you get to learn them. Add them to yourself.
yeah.
And all of that. And I'm saying this at the background, of the Fulani headsmen issues in Nigeria.
Mm,
Where a certain part of them, have conducted themselves in some manner,
mm,
whereby they've become like, I mean, not good neighbors,
yeah,
of whichever community they find themselves. And
yeah,
unfortunately, whether rightly or wrongly, this is almost boomeranging to. I mean, some people are using it as a blanket,
yeah,
to just cover every Fulani man.
yeah, yeah.
So I personally, I would like to see a situation where this thing can be looked at, can be dissected, look into this main problem very well, and see how, we can iron out things and still coexist,
Mhm.
and see, yes, and still coexist. Because for instance now, I give Modibo was here now. He
Yeah,
was born and brought up, I mean, in southern Kaduna and all of that. If he tells him to go back, he says even if he goes back to Katsina State, where some of his great grandparents are, they don't even know him.
yeah,
You know, but
mhm,
and but again, he has to accept that situation, because the people, these people who are now saying that we don't want people around, never said that before. It is because of maybe now you have changed, you've become bad, you are attacking their farms, you're
Yeah,
killing
right.
their people for
Uh-huh.
whatever reasons. This is what has made them switch. So there are two faces to this whole thing. But I believe that as human beings, right, we can always look at the situation critically, and solve it. Because the movement of cattle all over Nigeria has its own benefit. I mean, whether you like it or not, I still know that most of these farms still need the cow dungs, to grow their cattle.
Yeah. And people need
Yeah.
cow for meat, for soya
Aha.
and things like that.
Yeah, and people. So it is now left for the Fulani people to reassure,
Yeah. Hmm.
you know, to reassure the people, of these communities, to
Yeah.
bring back that confidence that people used to have, and they know that these people can coexist with them peacefully. They
Hmm.
will allow them, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
they will allow them. So, I mean, I'm just saying that let's approach this thing with a human face,
Yeah.
you know, let's let the Fulani, I mean, leaders,
Yeah.
stand up and look at these things and call a spade, so that this thing can be dealt with finally. And this is what Dr. Our guest today, Dr. Gideon, is comes back and I mean and put more light on what he's doing.
Mashallah. Shout out to Jackson. Thanks, Jackson says I'm here. Courage guys. Thanks, Inco. Uh yeah. We're just chatting about these issues, conflicts, and Dr. Gideon was here, but the internet actually kicked him out. So he was trying to say there's a trend. It's like people are going towards nationalism, thinking of like me, my thing. And we're also chatting about that in the background of what's happening in Cameroon, where people talk of support your own and they're trying to like ban Nigerian music, while some say limit it and things like that. So we're just discussing on those lines.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Isaac. I mean, what you're saying makes a lot of sense in the sense that, like, we have to realize that it's action. These are things that we know. We have to start acting on the things that we have been told or taught. Because when we're growing up from school, they will tell us things, right? Our parents will teach us how to do things. People will say things about patience, listening, uh, thinking critically. So it's high time we implemented those. If we implement those, then we will not have these issues. So it's also a way for us to see that all of us we are talking more than we are acting, because um because if we try to follow the about maintaining goodness and achieving a better environment, if we implement those, then these things will not happen. You see, or we will start making progress over the years, and we will see
yeah,
that change that we want.
yeah, I agree with you, and this is why it will be very interesting to talk to Dr. Gideon,
Yeah.
because it's high time to do things
Mhm.
differently. It's high time to act differently. All of us, all of us, it's high time we can be speaking from both sides of the mouth,
Yeah.
especially the politicians, especially the leaders of Nigeria.
Yeah.
You're going somewhere. We buy. Good, good, good. Yeah, bye bye.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see what you mean. And now the world is connected. You see, like, we have the means to mobilize, take action from almost anywhere. So if it's about support, let's say if the matter is that the road is not well made for the military to go secure some space, or if each town needs some kind of an entrance and security gate or toll gate with security, then people could discuss that and asking, but why can't they solve that if it makes sense? Then you start saying, okay, by the way, what are you even spending money on? Government, we want to see a budget. And you see that people start participating in things. And that's just one side. On the other side, if it's a community thing and the community really believes in some solution, like contributing for safety in the neighborhood, again, like you said, maybe build some gate right? For the local police or the local council to employ security people to enforce security. Just some activity that would also generate economic activity because those people will need to be paid. When they are paid, then they will then need to spend money. And nowadays a lot of issues happen because people don't have things to do. You see, so
Hmm.
which means with the connectedness, if the council can do fundraising, they can do fundraising, use on Twitter or whatever. They can do fundraising. Oh, hi, Jennifer Benjigi, Bangiji, and good evening to you too. So they can do fundraising, and people can check for accountability because a lot of things with this incidences, you see that there is a lot of, is it incidences or incidents? You know, now in Cameroon you say boys and girls so
I understand.
so
All I know is that I understand what you mean. So carry on.
with all these events that are happening, people can start participating. You see, like
Yes.
this is the
Just like
result we want. How can we get there? This is what we need. And then the government can launch, or the local council can launch, if it's a campaign that, okay, let's mobilize, collect money, they collect money, they account to people. Because now you'll see that many things are missing. People don't know what is what, which means there's no accountability. You see what I mean? So
yeah.
so you, if I ask you about the issues, you tell me something. If I take 10 other people and ask them, I will get 10 different things. So there's no accountability. You see, so which means even in governance, there's no accountability. So people
Yes.
need to
There's
start participating and fixing all of those things.
it's largely because there's breakdown of leadership. There's failure in leadership,
Uh-huh.
and these failed leaders, yesterday Jude was talking about, I mean, what's going on in the southeast with the Fulani.
Mm-hmm.
He says most of the cattle that the Fulanis rear there are
Yeah,
actually owned by the indigent.
yeah. Well,
Do you understand?
investors.
So you see already there is already a partnership, a commercial partnership, an economic partnership that satisfies both parties,
Yeah.
right? But then because we are human beings and we are very fallible and can act excessively at times, whether purposely or purposely, and
Yeah.
this is why we have the rule of law. This is
Mm-hmm.
why we have the police, to check all these excesses. No, the leaders, the people who have the responsibility of ensuring that
Mm-hmm.
everybody stays in his lane and interacts with equity, or equally with the next person in the society, they refuse to do these things.
Yeah.
And as such, what allows impunity. And this is what allows, the human excesses to keep on growing, and at a certain point, you see somebody having an inferiority complex over the next person
Yeah.
because he knows that he has been getting away with things, and it's just a conspiracy by the political elite,
I see.
because it doesn't really bother them. I mean, the more divided, we are, the people are. I mean, the more stronger they are, the more stronger they get, and the more easier for them to be corrupted, the more easier for them to divert monies, and we don't get them accountable because we're divided. If, for instance, now they say, okay, we need the minister, this minister now, or this representative now, you need to tell us what has happened to the funds that were marked for that hospital.
Yeah.
These people will say no. It's because they are attacking him. They are trying to blackmail him because he's not one of theirs, because he's one of ours.
Yeah.
This narrative has gone very well, with the bad leaders that we have. They like it when we come when we say all these things, because in the real sense, I still say this thing. You see those good Fulanis,
Yeah.
the ones that are in the forest farming and rearing their cows. They want to remain in those communities and do this and live their lives there.
Mm-hmm.
And live their lives
It's
there.
a lifestyle,
Even
yeah. You always want to
yes,
maintain your lifestyle, yeah.
yes. So we Africans, we need to find a way, or let me domesticate it here and say Nigerians. We Nigerians, we need to find a way of, collaborating, understanding ourselves, and not allowing politics to come into these issues, because these people will never solve this problem. It's not even their business. They don't even care. Yes,
Yeah.
it's not even their business. You know.
Yeah, and
So
and if and the more I think about this thing or look at it, it really shows me many aspects of society that when we look at deeply, we'll be seeing many issues. One problem, not just that people are idle, like people don't really have the means to do what they really want to do. You see, so and that could even be some practice that is moved then due to the difficulty that we're facing now, the drums that you guys really make and acquire go bad. Now it may be difficult to replace them, and your culture starts declining like that, and all the
Yeah.
frustrations that,
So also
uh,
your
um,
preoccupation.
yeah, all the frustrations that emerging as different things, from depressions to the crumbling of the society, and people start doing different things. You see, so
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
uh, you know, so
Hmm.
if we look at it like it's happening, and but things are getting expensive and life is harder, people try to leave, so they'll try to use the cheapest way to make a living, and that evolution would not mind who you are, right?
Hmm.
The same way that the law of gravity, if you jump from a building, the law does not mind if you're Isaac or you hit the ground, you fall. You see,
Hmm.
so those things too are beginning to appear.
You just stammered on something so essential, and I wonder if it is actually worth talking about, or I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah.
When you make mention about
You will still say the same thing. So I just wanted to
okay,
read it. Yeah. So Clement, so you don't feel like we ignored what you wrote. Um, hi Jennifer. Hi Jackson. Hi Clement. So Clement says that hello Isaac and friend, great to be here. There is totally a lack of intentionality about resolving this farmer header challenge by our government at all levels in Nigeria. We need the government to exhibit leadership by taking proactive steps in this regard.
yeah, thank you, Clement. Just so Brian, and the viewers all over the world watching, Clement is he works alongside. He works with our guest today, Dr. Gideon
Okay.
Para-Mallam.
Mhm.
He's also a trained conflict resolution person. We went to the same school with him.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
Clement, thank you for that comment, that contribution, and I know that that contribution comes from experience, because I know that you are a field person. But Brian, what I really want to say, I will respond to what Clement said, then I'll go back and add what I wanted to say earlier.
Okay. All right.
First, first is that Clement, yes, government. We always say government. We too, we've been talking here. We are saying government, but is there anything new that the people can do differently? You know, outside the government,
Yeah,
is
many.
there anything new? Is there anything that the people in the community, the people, the followers now of the government can do on their own to try to resolve these issues,
Yes,
before
there are
the
many.
government? We know that the government controls all our life and all of that.
Yeah.
But Brian, I'm saying that man, how many years I have been reporting, I mean, uh, this communal violence for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about since 2000 and 2000 and 2011, 2010, 2012. At a point, we even stopped reporting it because, the violence was too much.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we even got this. We are not even interested. So I'm saying here that these things have come a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and every time we wait for the government, it seems that we have been waiting for the government. Why can't we take steps amongst us, the people that have these problems, the Fulani people in Fadi and Bokut, where I come from, and the Fadi and Bokut people? Why can we come together
Yeah.
and just have discussions on our own? How do we resolve this thing on our own locally first, before the government, before the coming, or then we approach the government with a policy plan and say this is what we want to be implemented? I mean, I'm not saying that this is the ultimate solution,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying we need to start doing things more differently. Yeah, that is one, Brian. You made mention about people are very idle now, and I grew up largely part of my life, my early days in the village. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I
That's the
have
best way, man.
cousins. I have cousins, Gideon Dauda, like my cousin, and we're very close. His name is Kamba. These guys, when they drum, everybody knows them. Everybody in the house can drum, Brian. I
Mm.
mean, these guys, they have magic fingers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking for a day where we'll have him on this show
Please,
and I
let's
will
do it.
just throw a
Yeah.
drum and I will just throw a drum to him. And you will see what this guy is going to do, man.
Mashallah. I can imagine,
And you
man.
will see what,
Yeah.
and it's not just him. Oh.
Yeah.
If you give it to his younger brother, if you give it to his nephew, if you give it everybody in the house, because it's like, I mean, in the family system of the village, their house are the ones that play the drums.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually now, with civilization and the change of things, we don't practice, we don't even celebrate, during the Christmas when you go and you play all these samba songs and all of that and people dance. These things no longer happen. So these drums have disappeared.
Yeah.
Now, Kambad no longer have drums to play. And
Yeah.
I believe that if he was playing drums now, he would have been a professor
Yeah. Or better
of
at
drumming
it.
by now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I guess this is what you're talking about as
That's
people
an
have remained
example. Yeah,
idle.
yeah, that's an example. Yeah, that's an example actually. And I was just trying to say that what is happening is manifesting in different ways, and your example is just another way that is like make it. We're losing a lot. Like we're losing cultures. We're losing. So people should not just see it as don't think and that's why a lot of cultures say that if something is happening and you sit quiet, you are contributing to it, or that if something is happening and you don't stop it, it will grow and come to you. You see, so some people may think that they are not connected to that thing or it doesn't affect them in any way, but perhaps a little kid who has died may have been the next Leonardo da Vinci, or may have been the president that will come and change the country. You
Mm-hmm.
see, and if you argue that, just think of what when people argue about time traveling, they will talk about someone going traveling back to the past to kill Hitler, right? So which which means things happen in a way that sometimes they can be prevented, but since we can't travel, nature itself prevents things. So if nature can prevent bad things, it means nature can also prevent good things. So long as there are people that die that they would have made a worse future, there are people that also die that they would have made a better future. So that's why we want to give everyone a chance and create a society that where there's freedom and people can achieve their own perfection. So if you are not, as time goes on, it becomes worse until to be this monster in front of your face that you can't ignore it anymore.
Hmm. Exactly. The Boko Haram story, tells it clearly that whatever is happening to your neighbor and you think it's none of your business, it's just a matter of fact. It's just a matter of time. Look at how how they are now collaborating with the guys in Mali, even up to Kenya with the Al Shabaab there and all of that. Because at some point we heard they were sharing notes and all of that and sharing expertise, if that is true. But this was what we so you can see it's how disturbing it is when you try to ignore what's happening to your neighbor and think that does not bother you. And the worst and what pains me the most, Brian, is that how people of my generation, and I'm saying this from a personal point of view,
Yeah,
how people of my generation, our generation, who are supposed to be learned, who are supposed to know better, you know,
yeah,
pick up conversations with the worst level of mediocrity, if that's English. People just pick up pen to make it official, And the funniest thing about that, Brian, is that this is what I've always believed,
yeah,
especially in Africa. Anybody that goes to a four wall class type of education, has some level of authority within his community, especially places, people who are not opportune to go to such, education institutions. So
uh,
whatever you say, people will just take it hook, line, and sinker
yeah,
and say, is it not Brian that said it? You know that Brian? That
yeah,
Brian that went to that seminary. We heard that he went to Harvard. Now he works with the World Bank. If he says it, it must be true.
yeah.
If he says
I
it,
mean,
it
yeah.
must be true.
Yeah, that
So
critical thinking
yeah, so
aspect is
we should be careful. We
yeah.
should be careful what we pass around. I mean, it is very easy to pass around bad bile. It is the easiest thing to do is to condemn or spread negativity. But at the end of the day, the hate that you're spreading, what does it do? I am saying here that we Nigerians should begin to speak. We the elites, or will I say elite, people of my generation, we should begin to speak with the tongue of unity. Yes, we are bitter about situation, but speak in a approach the situation with a way of resolving it, not adding fire to it. Not adding fire to it. I assure you, the few people that are behind this thing that are causing all this problem, this is what they want to see. They want to see us just spewing bad bile that will continue to, cause, people to, to continue to kill and suffer, I mean, in the country. Because let me tell you, Brian,
Yeah.
anywhere there is violence, people suffer. Poverty hits.
Yeah.
Anywhere there is violence, even if it is just for a few hours,
Yeah.
the economy suffers for it. I've seen it. The economy suffers for it. So we don't need this thing, man. We need
Yeah.
to really, reapproach how we analyze things, how we try to, the information that we try to put out.
Yeah, yeah, very true. We have another, thanks for that, Isaac. We have another comment from Clement. So he says we can also try to take responsibility outside the government by interacting with like minds on the way forward, then network properly about this challenge. This podcast, for example, is an avenue for enlightenment. We should increase the space for discussion because we are dealing with an issue that may eventually consume all of us if proper care is not taken. Yeah, thanks, Clement. And I don't know about the doctor, but Clement, if you have the chance and time, you can. Yeah, we can
Right,
send
I
you
was
the
just
link.
saying because Clement
And
works with doctor.
yeah, and
If
so we
doctor is
have this
finding it
conversation.
difficult, the things are beyond his capacities, maybe technical issues.
Yeah.
Clement,
So
we can
Isaac, you
send
can
you the
send him
link,
the link. Yeah.
and you just come in here.
Just
We
let us
continue
know,
the
and
conversation.
yeah, just let us know.
Yeah.
You can just put in a comment if you want to join, and I will
Yeah, and
inbox
we
you
send you
the link. Yeah.
and you come in and we continue the conversation. Doctor can always come back here anytime that he wants. This space is
Yeah.
open for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I
also,
will,
oh sorry, Isaac. Yeah.
go ahead, Brian.
Also, this, these issues are not just. Again, the issue does not come from the fact that two people are at war. War is never an issue. You see, in the sense that war does not cause itself. You see what I mean?
Go ahead.
Something makes it to happen. You see, so it has a cause. It's the effect of something. We don't have something that we value. Most of the things that we value are not here. For Christians, or like the way some religions will paint it, you are here to prepare for a better future. So maybe the mind is taken and put in an afterlife or something. You see what I mean? But whereas if the same God gave you this place for you to develop it and do all what you have to do, then if you do that here, you are automatically preparing for the after one. You see what I mean? So instead of focusing on the after one and forgetting this one, you will not end up going to that one, because if this one dissolves away, you will not even be there to go to the other one, or you may not have the proper bridge to cross to go to the other one. So it's by developing this one and participating to the best here that you can go to the other one. It's like having a tenant, being a tenant, having a landlord. They give you some house, and then perhaps they promise that they'll give you a better house. So imagine if you mess up that house, how will you give you a better house? You see what I mean? So it looks like we don't have something that we value, or we don't have something that can make us measure value. You see, so that will go back to like the way a societies are run, the markets, money, because money is supposed to help us to measure things. If some people may not understand how far, let's say, America is from Nigeria, but if you tell them the price of the ticket, then they may imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if somebody sometimes, oh, I see Dr. Gideon is about to join. I hope he has not waited for too long.
Yes. Clement contacted me and said he's trying to come back in.
Okay, yeah. I just accepted. Hi, doctor. It's still connecting to audio.
I
Hello?
think
Yes, yes, doctor. Yeah, thank you very much for trying to.
talking, and I realized that Clement sent me a text saying that doctor is in the waiting room. He's trying to come back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome back, doctor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's a pity.
No worries. No worries.
I had multiple challenges which are unbelievable, but within um, the reality of our context, you know.
Shalom. Yeah.
Very,
So
very well.
yeah. Okay,
Go
Isaac.
ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go. No. Go ahead. Go on.
Very, very well, doctor. We appreciate your resilience, um, and we will conquer it. We have always conquered it here. We are aware about, I mean, the context, the challenges within our context that you're talking about. So we are happy that you're here, and we will just take it, sir, straight up, and to say that, sir, we'd like you to introduce yourself. We'd like to hear about. I mean, you're experts in conflict resolution. People would like to understand what are the ingredients. How did you become? How was your growing? What are the things that informed you that you decide that you is war? You want to go where people are shooting themselves and enter between them and say, hey, stop, stop, stop fighting. What makes somebody desire to do that?
Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much. I frankly shudder when you describe me. I saw the poster or the handbill advert that described me as a conflict resolution expert, and I was like, hey, how am I going to manage this today? The expectations, you know. I think I'm a
That's who you are.
regular guy, and I have spent all my life since graduating from the university, uh, getting working amongst young people in the universities and the colleges in Nigeria and in Africa, and then being able to connect with students from around the world has helped me a lot. Now, it's an interesting thing because of what you said. I in 2008 July, I was given an appointment to be regional secretary for the International Fellowship of Evangelical Students in English and Portuguese speaking Africa. Department of Evangelical Students.
Oh, the internet.
Darling, I'm having a root interruption from Baba. Please tell Rose to tell Baba not to call me. Hello?
Yes. Yes.
We're
Sorry.
here, sir.
Continue. Yeah.
Carry on.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
By IFES, which is the International Fellowship of Evangelical Students in English and Portuguese speaking Africa. And at the time of my appointment, it was in July, and by November, there was a very major ethno religious crisis that erupted in the city where I live, which is Jos, in the central part of Nigeria, in the middle belt, to be specific. And so the condition for me to continue with my work, with my new appointment, was to relocate out of Nigeria. And I had like three countries to choose from. Either I relocate to Kenya, Ghana, or South Africa. So I actually concluded plans to leave, to move to South Africa. Then on the 17th of January 2010, a major ethno-religious crisis erupted in the city of Jos, again in Plateau State, and that lasted for literally a week, and it led to a total declaration of 24-hour curfew in the whole city, but the entire state was literally shut down. So I was faced with a choice because I had a number of young people and women and even some of the older folks calling me and saying, "Hey, Gideon, you God has blessed you with contacts with people in both low and high places, and these killings are going on. Are you just going to fold your arms?" Actually, that started back in 2008, November, when the first crisis, well, not the first crisis, when one of those crises erupted. And so I had to basically just suspend any idea of leaving Nigeria, relocating to South Africa. So I decided to remain. But then, as I remained, by March, I thought, look, I need to do something about what was going on. I just cannot sit like that, fold my arms, and see some of the terrible things happening. And we were discussing the situation together with my wife and figuring out how are we going to intervene. So we began to gather some intellectuals, some of them into peace work, some of them are into conflict resolution, and some of them are just academics, and some of them were just burdened that this kind of fighting must not continue. Now, here am I, a missionary. Yes, I studied political science in the university as a major and then a minor in international relations. But I've been in Christian ministry from like 1984, and now we're talking about 2010. So look at the number of years. And I never really went into peace building. So I decided to take the first plunge, and it was first, I think, sometimes in March. We decided, along with some friends, to bring young Christian Muslims together with young Christians, Christian, young Christians, youth together with these Muslims. And
Mashallah.
we actually met in a cinema, which was considered neutral. So it was neither in the church nor in the mosque.
Yeah.
And then we began the journey, been inspired by what Jesus taught about peace. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons and daughters of God. So I took that quite
Mashallah.
serious, and it became a major influence in my life. So that's how I began. So I actually began from the field and not from the classroom. I began from practicals and not from the theories. So I began to witness how to manage conflicts, to transform conflicts rather than letting conflict destroy a people. That's how the journey began.
You know, when you explain it, it made me think of how we live in life and we don't really absorb the experiences, the different species of experiences that go to the same kingdom or family, if I have to use taxonomy. So let me give an example. I'll be growing up, I'll meet a hill and I'll climb that hill. I don't turn and go back home because I met a hill in front of me. Like if you living in the
Right.
village, you would not have a car, you would have to run up a hill and experience the hill with a bicycle or something. It's so from your explanation, doctor, it makes it, I tend to see you facing conflict resolution just like someone who face a hill and climb it, because if we want to
Excellent.
avoid it, we will not go anywhere. So most times
Exactly.
we go and perform in serve other sectors, but when it comes to even the most important, we maybe just do the opposite.
Or you play the ostrich, to use that,
Yes.
use another expression to capture your point.
Uh huh.
You just
Yes.
pretend that it's not there. You just bury your head under the sun. As long as I'm flying in and out of the country, and then with conflicts all around me, I'm untouched. It was a little bit difficult. Now I don't know whether you've heard this expression. It's said to describe the way we conduct ourselves in Africa. It's not in a way to put us down, but in a way to get us to think. Okay, have
Mm-hmm.
you heard about private splendor, public squalor?
No, no, no. Please tell us.
Private splendor, public squalor. Mm.
Exactly. So, as long as I can live in my island of make believe, and then the road right after my compound, it's rough and terrible. I don't care because it's a public issue. If the government likes, let them fix the road. If they don't like, let them not fix the road. So you have people driving exoteric expensive cars on bad road, build beautiful homes, but they don't care about those who live in the ghetto around them.
Hmm.
Mashallah.
Hmm. That is very typical of Nigeria. Very, very
Well,
typical of Nigeria.
actually, from my experience of Africa, my dear Abrak, honestly, it's it's a reality about Africa, the Africa that I know.
Oh my God.
I see. Is it possible to solve such a problem? Because that looks like it fits into a fundamental human structures, especially, it may not be right, but if you look at history, things like caste systems. Because now there will be a kid in the ghetto whose dream will be to grow up, hustle. It's like you have these layers of society, and then one has to graduate, almost like different leagues of a football competition, like first division, second division. So, but then the divisions are about how much suffering exists. So those in like the first division, if it's a ghetto, or sorry, let's say the third division, if it's a ghetto, they would be working more to graduate to the second and to the first. So well, like you say, it's all that me, that private thing. So it looks like that is so engraved in our society too, that we have to change how we think before we can even start solving things like that.
Yeah, I think the question is that, do we leave things the way they are? Do we do something about it? That's the question of action. And in
Mashallah.
truth, I would say this, and I use your analogy of when we were growing up in the village. Incidentally, I grew up in the village. Actually, if you check my email address is gorapmboy at yahoo.com. That
Wow.
Gora is the name of my village.
Mashallah.
PM is Para-Mallam, which is my surname, at yahoo.com. So I used to, simply, my email is that I am the son of my father from this village.
Oh wow.
So I grew up in the village. I love the village. And like you said, when you're climbing a hill in the village, believe you me, even from primary school days, you don't return back because you say the hill is too hilly and I can't make it.
Yeah.
You keep going
Yeah.
until you conquer it. So I'm bringing this to say that some of these hydra headed social problems, we need to keep working at it. The kind of things you're doing to create awareness, to grill people, to have this kind of fireside chat, it's
Mashallah.
inspirational for those who are listening to us.
Mashallah.
Because sometimes, again, from my own leadership experience, I'll still come back to your question. I found out that in an organization that has thousands of people, honestly, if you have 3 people, 5 people that know what they're doing, they can actually provide leadership for the rest of the 10,000. That's what I've
Mashallah.
discovered. So
Hmm.
it's getting
Mashallah.
people with vision, people who are inspired.
Hmm.
They can make a significant difference in changing this trajectory that we have in
Hmm.
Africa. Now, sociologists, or sociology rather, teaches us that society is basically stratified.
Yeah.
And whether you like it or not, even before Marxism came into existence,
Yeah.
the fact that people who own more land had more power, had more say, even within our traditional African societies. Now, the choice is, do you, how do you use your power? Do you use your power to serve the common rest of the village can go to hell? These are some of the root causes to some of the conflicts that we experience on our
Yeah.
Hmm.
continent,
Yeah.
is that the common good has been abandoned.
Hmm.
The,
Mashallah.
the few is basically what subsists. So as long as the few are content, they are happy, they'll never relinquish their privileges. And so the majority suffers.
Mashallah. I see.
Hmm.
Mashallah.
So I like to thank you for highlighting this point, not highlighting it, from defining it and bringing it out very clearly, because now I understand that it is not just enough to blame even the people in government political position to just depend on yourself, make the best out of your life and not bother about the common good. You have contributed to that problem. So it makes all of us now involved in this situation. So, sir, I like to
Yeah.
ask, in your early days of when you started at that cinema, what were the issues that were identified to have militated, they have created this violence? What were you able to do about them, and where are we today?
Very good question, Isaac. I must commend you for that question.
That's
The
true.
truth is that when we began to have some of those peace gatherings in March, we just bring in young people. I'll tell you another story and then quickly answer your question. And so we started in March, and then I think we did something in April. We were doing it together with a friend. And then because I've always, and now I talked about some meetings that I had with some professors, with some guys who are doing conflict at the University of Jos, you know. So we were really planning to do something big. But then we said, I thought it's good to put some reflection thoughts on ground before you move out. So by May, our foundation, but then it was not a foundation, it was just my moving out together with my wife. Of course, she was supporting me in the background to get some things done. So we decided to experiment with a community. The community is in one of the affluent areas in Jos, Plateau State. It's called Rayfield. So in the Rayfield, we also have a settlement that is not as affluent as the middle class areas. So we had a significant number of Muslims, but they're completely in the minority. We also had significant number of Christians who were in the majority. So when the 2010 crisis of 17th January took place, it created a sharp divide between Christians and Muslims. And so after the frontal attacks and counterattacks and the killings, large numbers, then we went into a moment of quiet, and the quiet now led to the balkanization of the city of Jos. So the Christians who were in the Muslim dominated areas began to move out, sell their houses there, and they moved out to the Christian dominated areas to buy houses. And the Muslims in the Christian
Christians
dominated
dominated
areas
area.
moved out of that place, went back to where Muslims were in the majority, balkanized. So that was going side by side with what you call silent killings. Now, in this suburb of Jos, it's called Rayfield, but in Rayfield, there's a suburb
Mm-hmm.
that had Muslims and Christians together. So they also balkanized. But because they were together in the same vicinity, the balkanization wouldn't work. So this is what happened. If a Christian strays into a Muslim quarters, he was killed instantly. If a Muslim strayed into a Christian area, he too was killed or she was killed. So we had that going January, February, March, April. Fear was rampant. By May, I decided to give a signal to the Muslim leaders that I was coming to meet with them. Now, I'm answering your question,
Yes, sir.
Isaac, with this illustrative story. So just mark and pick the points, what you would like to come back for me
Okay, sir.
to to re-explain or to unpack. But listen
Yeah.
to this story. So I recall my wife saying, I said, I'm going to go and have a meeting with Muslim leaders. And my wife said, wow, you have courage. You just go, I'll be praying for you. At that time, no Christian would like to go close to a Muslim. They're scared. So they meet, but they're scared. So the Muslims gathered in a room in a Muslim quarter. So I drove in and went, and I was in this room with about 11 Muslims, including Imam, the Imam who had this long beard. I mean, unusually long beard. The guy was elderly with very long beard. And then some of the Muslim leaders. And then I was the only Christian man there.
Mashallah.
Mm.
So I said to them, I would like us to meet. I'd like you to meet with the Christians. And so, but what are the issues? So they opened up their minds, okay, which is part of what Isaac was asking. They talked about their concerns, the killings
Yes.
too on their side, and all that and all that. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to go and meet the Christian side and talk with them. Now there was animosity, lack of trust, anger,
Mm-hmm.
desire for revenge, quite strong,
Mm.
and all of those were very serious factors we had to contend with. So I finished with them. Now, because I'm a Christian, it's easy. I went to the Christian side.
Yeah.
I tell you, when I said, went to some of the pastors and I said, look, and I went to the pastors one by their churches and I said, I'd like us to meet and I want us to have a meeting with the Muslims. Now, honestly, some of them were outrightly scared, afraid. First of all, they didn't think that anything good will come out of this, and they just feel that it's a waste of time. You know, why?
Yeah.
Why would you want us to meet together? They didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I prevailed and kept on prevailing. I'd
Mashallah.
convinced the Muslims. They were now ready, so it was my duty to convince the Christian pastors to agree before I talked to some of the Christian leaders of the community. Now, I must tell you, it was tough. So I decided, and I prevailed on the Muslims. We're going to use a field that is closer to the main road, but then the field was owned by one of the churches. And then the church also had a respected pastor who was a bit elderly. So I said to him, please, I would like us to have this meeting in your place. You're going to host it outside. It's an open air meeting. We would like to bring together about 100 of you from
Yeah.
the Muslim side and from your other side. So
Yeah.
we're looking at 100 people, 50-50.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the pastor said, fine. He respected me. He said, fine, we'll do it. Now,
Mashallah.
both Brian and Isaac, on the day of the meeting,
Yeah.
when I drove down to the place, do you believe that the elderly pastor who hosted me disappeared? He was nowhere to be found.
Oh my
Was
God.
he afraid? Mashallah. Yeah.
So the early days of GSM, I started to make calls. I was frantic by now. So I was
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
able to convince him wherever he was to come.
Yeah.
So he came. Now, instead of uh, um, 100 people coming, both from the Muslims and the Christian side, we ended up with 400 people.
Oh
See?
wow! Instead of like 100 and 50
Yeah.
50.
Yes,
Oh
400
wow.
women and
Mm-hmm.
children
400
from
people are
both sides.
interested. People want peace. People want to.
Exactly.
People
That's
want
the
to live
idea.
together.
Yeah.
Now, you see, Isaac, I would have. Normally, I like telling my staff, clap for yourself. So you better clap for yourself. That's the idea. Yeah. So now you see that people wanted peace. Now, also had a few Americans that were visiting and they got to know that I was doing this. So they came in a group and joined us. The
Mm-hmm.
journalists were also there. So we opened the meeting and began to talk. And then as people now in this kind of meeting, you dare not bring some conflict resolution specialists. They are going to be talking above the heads of the people. So
Yeah.
you got to talk about basic things of the need to live together, the need to trust one another. You can't resolve all the issues because some of these issues the government needs to come in, but we leave that for another time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Created a new chemistry and dynamism for the meeting I will never forget. And it made
Oh
the
my God.
headline.
I understand.
So this
Mashallah.
elderly pastor just got up, held the imam with a long beard, picked his hand up and said, I've been here for a long time. I have
Mashallah.
never cared to know who you are and where you live. But as a result of this meeting today, I'm coming to your house for a meal.
Hey.
And held his
Mashallah.
hand up.
Mashallah.
Oh my
And
God.
of course, the pressmen, the cameras just went,
Yeah.
the TVs just went, it became an highlight of the news in the evening.
Oh, great.
Eyes broken. I can
Oh
tell
my
you
God.
from that time till now, we have found a way to accommodate both Christians and Muslims,
Hmm.
and none of the crisis that has been rocking Plateau State has
Mm-hmm.
erupted in that suburb. Mayor Diko is the name from that 2010 till date.
Mashallah. I see. Oh wow. I see. I mean that's amazing, and it's like a rally. Even when like growing up as a Christian, we would have this rally in a certain village, and people come from other villages. Just that, although we're Christians, just the moment that we get there and we're getting to know each other, it's ecstatic So imagine, oh, you are from this village, you are from that village. So now I can imagine because, like, if you look at different ideas of time, how they use their time, the practices they do, so they kind of travel and come together. I can imagine the excitement and all the energy and spirit and Holy Spirit that can be within that kind of effusion.
Exactly, Brian. You can say the Holy Spirit again. You can say that. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I added it. It's like,
Yes.
yeah.
You can say the
I,
Holy
I
Spirit again, because
yeah,
because for
I thought
me,
my ears. Yeah, Isaac, I thought my ears didn't hear well. I didn't know that your ears also caught it.
Yeah, I
yes,
added that.
be,
Because it's
because
that's it.
because
What else?
because sir, I believe that wherever there is peace, the grace of God, the Spirit of God would manifest, and as such,
Absolutely.
you, by the grace of God, allowed yourself to be used so that God can come in between us, because these are all believers in God. These are all people who worship the Almighty God, right? So,
Mashallah.
and if our Bible tells us, say, where one or two people are gathered in my name, I'm with them. God is there with you people, and that was how He was able to manifest in the mind of that pastor, and that pastor, you see,
Yeah,
led to.
that's
So,
the Holy
and so,
Spirit.
sir,
Yeah.
this brings me to people, for people to always try to give peace a chance. Do
Yep.
your best and see what God is going to do. So, having said that, sir, I now wonder, what is the level of progress? Of course, there has been progress. We like to know, what is the level of progress that was achieved there, and how do we implement it today? Because it seems the just crisis has cooled down and is now spreading not just in southern countries. Some people will call it armed banditry, but I believe that these are all hydra-headed, issues. And this is the same problem from south, to deal with this. So I don't want to ask too many questions. I also want to ask, what is it that you are doing differently this time around? Brian, you're laughing.
Yeah.
I, I hope you surmount all my feelings, my emotions.
Yeah. Yes, I. Well, I think again, back to your other question that led me to tell the story of what happened in that small village. You said, what are some of the issues? Some of the issues are mistrust, politicians that manipulate innocent people, immense
Oh my God.
Mashallah.
between people who live together. A quarrel between a Christians and Muslim can easily snowball into a religious crisis. Now, the element of always wanting my own religion to have an upper hand. So it's a religious hegemony.
Hmm.
All of these things were some of the things that we discovered. Now, there's another element, and that is the element of conflict merchants, people who actually make arms available to some of the people. For somebody to use a gun to shoot somebody, somebody has to provide the money to buy the gun.
Yeah.
Somebody has to make the gun available. So you look at the end person who uses the gun to shoot. But I think we should go beyond just looking at that gun that was used by somebody to shoot. Where did the gun come from? How was the gun acquired? So these are very deep issues that we need to work together. There has to be a cooperation between the people, the communities, the government, including the international community, quite frankly, if we're going to solve some of these problems.
Yeah.
You can almost tell that there is a bit of international conspiracy to some of this nonsense that we see taking place in Nigeria. I would find it difficult to just reduce it. It's all local. Sometimes local is global and global is local.
Mashallah. Yeah.
So So back to it, back to your specific question. Now, there was a time when I was national director of NIFES, and we had an issue with my management team. And I recall saying to them, it's easy to spark a problem, but it's not easy to control. That's why conflict resolution or conflict management, actually, the better word now is conflict transformation. It's required
Correct.
in the end to benefit the people. No, let's look at our simple lives. So back to the illustration Brian gave.
Yeah.
As a small child, you're climbing a mountain and it's high in the village. You decide not to go back, you keep going. So do you realize, Isaac, that some people, when they have challenges in their lives, they transform those challenges to become stepping stones, ladders
Hmm.
of progress?
Hmm. Yes,
So I think
I
these are
do.
some of the practical things we need to do in Nigeria.
Mashallah.
As long as people think of the common good, it is achievable. As long as people think about their selfish aims, my interest, my family, I acquire power for me. I acquire power to benefit my family. I acquire power to benefit people of the same religion, religious persuasion as me. It will be a challenge. We'll continue to contend with it. But I understand that one day I'm telling you, people are going to grow tired of crisis. That is the truth.
Yeah,
People
mashallah.
will grow tired of crisis. If you ask me, a good example is Europe itself. Europe, it's a continent that had been marred with wars, wars upon wars.
Yeah.
They finally had to find a way to settle. In fact, not only have they settled, some of the nation states in Europe today have come together to form what you call the EU, European Union. Go back and study their history. Lebanon. Lebanon had been marred with crisis, Christian Muslim crisis, but at some point they just became tired. Everybody got tired. So I think if we think of the common good, it will help us. But if we continue to reject the common good, particularly our political leaders, we're thinking about how to advance my religion, my family, and the rest of it, a time is going to come when everybody will be tired because actually to use power to promote one's religion is corruption. Not only is it corruption, is a huge um,
It's greatly
problem.
inhuman. It's
Yeah,
greatly inhuman.
yeah, no, it's a huge problem that will come back again and haunt everybody because even your religion that you're trying to promote, it will never get promoted that way. How? How? Because people are never going to allow themselves to be subjugated for life. I've never seen people that have just submitted themselves to be subjugated. Please show me anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You may try when those people are going to rise up. And when they rise up, that's when you realize that you alone do not have the monopoly of manipulation. You do not have the monopoly of violence. You do not have the monopoly of anything. Now, because this is a public Facebook interview, I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm simply saying that violence will never solve our problems. Actually, violence begets violence. But when people
Mashallah.
manipulate violence, it's going to boomerang. The boomerang effect of violence is coming. That's why those who believe in peace need to ring out the loud voices of peace. So now I answer your specific question. What are we doing differently? The crisis is growing in some places, but what are we doing differently? So the program you had, we were able to, we've just concluded two major programs for four local governments in southern Kaduna State. We had one on Thursday for the youth. Let me tell you again, we planned that we will have 80 youths, 20 each from four local governments in Kaduna State. Kaduna State, basically, particularly southern Kaduna, has been under the weather as far as crisis is concerned, as far as killings and attacks are continued. It's a very sad story. people have become internally displaced within their own communities. It's not the best. Several lives have been lost. 2020 alone, several lives were lost. I think I have the statistics somewhere. I'll pull it out. I didn't plan for it for this interview.
Okay.
So then, what did we do? We decided, no, we're going to intervene. And then the British High Commission said, look, we're going to support your efforts through a pilot project. Let's work together. So we're actually doing this in partnership with the British High Commission in Nigeria. So we picked Kajuru local government. It's experienced crisis. And it's still experiencing some crisis. We picked Zangon Katav local government. It has experienced crisis. It's still experiencing crisis, but the situation is calming a little bit, not easy. We picked Jamaa local government that has
Yes.
experienced crisis severely, but his things are cooling down a little bit. We continue to pray and push for peace, particularly if you remember Goska on the 24th of December 2016, when there was a mass attack. I wrote a short piece that went viral, A Different Kind of Christmas.
Yes, I know.
And then we picked Jaba local government. Jaba local government has not experienced crisis like the others, and we pray they do not experience the kind of crisis that the others have experienced. So we brought three with crisis, one without crisis, so that those who have been in crisis can hear from those who have not been in crisis, and those who have not been in crisis will hear from those who have been in crisis so that they can prevent the crisis from coming to them. There's also the
This,
concept of borrowed
Brian,
fight.
Brian, you need to write this one. This is quite new,
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
We need to write this point. This is quite new. Just so when we have other people coming in, I'm not writing. You know, you are the guru of the show. You know, so when we have other people, these are things we need to introduce. You know, when you have a conflict, the ones that are fighting, bring them. The one that has never fought, bring him. He has something to contribute.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for this.
get it,
These are the new things me and Brian like to hear.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir. Sorry for stopping you.
No, it's okay. It's a very good, it's good interjection. So now we now wanted 20 from each of these four local governments. Can you believe that we ended up with more than the 80? Because we had almost 98 to 100. Some of the youth say, we know we were not nominated to come, but we want to come and learn about peace. We want to see how we can push for peace in our communities.
You see.
So this is just last week, Thursday, 11th of February. So we went through some things by looking at how you can encourage interfaith mediation and advocacy. To also look at how young people can be agents of peace and transformation. And then we broke them out into groups. Now, here's something that I found interesting. We didn't choose the leaders. We allowed the leaders from the local communities to choose their representatives. So they did the choice. In fact, when there were so many people, we had to plead with them to cut down. Can you imagine me, the convener of the meeting, yet I'm begging local leaders, youth leaders, to drop some of their members.
People want peace.
And so they agreed to drop some of them. That's why it even came to 80, and still some of those dropped refused. If everybody had come, we would have ended up with over 100 people.
Can I interject too?
Yes, please.
So while you're talking, I'm a technology person, so I'm only thinking of solving that problem. You know, those can be done online, especially today with Zoom. And we, for example, I would be glad to host such and like just sit quiet and provide the space, because our Zoom is unlimited. Whereas some people, a normal person's Zoom will be like 40 minutes. You see, so which means if you want to organize a conference or some discussion online where you have participants, we can put this line there and you guys connect. It will be like an anchor. You guys connect and hold your meeting, especially if you want it public. But even for privacy, I think that can be programmed. But it's good to do public things so that the effort is shown out there and that network effect can be harvested.
Thank you. You are not interjecting. You've actually said what the next meeting will be. So we have a Zoom component, but I've also taken your invitation. I'm not going to joke with that. So we're going to work something out between Isaac and yourself and Kuliet will work something out,
Yeah,
who is our project officer.
Yes.
we'll be
So we
honored.
met
Yeah.
with the youth. And then we broke the youths out according to local governments to discuss the issues. So each local government discussed, and then they came back and reported. So all the other local governments would hear. So what is new? What is new is that we're saying to the people, you have the responsibility, but acting collectively to maintain the peace.
Hmm.
And I hope, and I hope that we'll keep pushing until we achieve results. So
Mashallah.
after that, we now brought for the first time only women from the same four local governments. Isaac, I mean, I wish you were there yesterday to see women. I was overjoyed. Women
Mashallah.
who are educated, some of them have gone top at the government, and women who are directly from the grassroots, women who are just stuck. Well, I wanted to use illiterates, but I think it's a bit condescending and
Yeah.
paternalistic to use that. Okay,
No, but people
Yeah.
will
women who
understand
may
what you
not have
mean, so
formal
it's alright to use
education,
it.
women who may not have formal Western education,
Impatient.
because they're educated in their own right,
Yeah, they can bake
native
bread that
intelligence.
you can bake. They can bake. You have someone that can stitch a piece of cloth or make some work of art that the professor in Harvard will look at it and
Yeah.
be like, "Whoa, this is
Yeah.
magic."
Yeah.
So who
Exactly.
is the illiterate? So, but anyway, yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, continue. I get your point.
No,
Yeah.
it's okay. Yes. So these women, you need to see how active their voices were heard yesterday, because we wanted them we wanted to engage in confidence and capacity building. Women have been the most vulnerable. They have suffered the most in most of these attacks, followed by children. Yet their voices are not heard. You go to any peace meeting, the men dominate virtually everything. Yet the victims themselves are voiceless. Or they're given what I call tokenism. You call a peace meeting, 90% will be men, 10% will be the women. So how can 10 voices compete with 90 voices? And yet, when these attackers come to the villages, who are the
Yes.
people that suffer the most? The women.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we decided that we would bring only women. And believe in me, we again asked for 20 from each of the local governments. More than 80 women came yesterday. Some of them said,
Mashallah.
although you did not invite us, we heard about the meeting, we are ready to come. Don't even give us the token transport money you gave. We will be okay to just be at the meeting. And they
My God.
participated. Now, when they broke out into group sessions, Muslims and Christians women together, you need to hear some of their recommendations,
Oh my
fantastic
God.
recommendations, which we hope to put together.
Good.
So, what
Mashallah.
are we doing newly? Allowing the voices of the victims themselves to be heard. Now, I'll say this: if the communities unite together, it will be a lot more easier to pick out the intruders, those who come to attack from outside.
Exactly. I agree.
And one of the points that rank out is that if it is a Muslim that is responsible for anything, surrender that Muslim. If it is a Christian, surrender that
Render that
Christian.
Christian.
Now, we need the people to work together eventually for us to address these concerns. Now, the bigger issue, which I think we should discuss for another day, is the role of the government in all of this.
Mashallah. I was gonna say that.
Listen to this quotation on the issue of conflict from Albert Einstein. We can't excuse this, especially if you know the antecedents of Albert Einstein, the brain. These are some of the people that thought and were able to provide the knowledge that led to the production of the atomic bomb, simply using the
Mashallah.
law. And Albert Einstein, in the end, ended up becoming a pacifist, crying for peace. And he said this: peace is not merely the absence of war, but the
Mashallah.
presence of justice,
Mashallah.
of law, of order, in short, of government. So if you have a government in place that's really itself the government, frankly, we should be able to experience peace.
Mashallah.
And it's not possible to have peace in the absence of justice. I hear the ruling elite in Nigeria talk about, before we talk about justice, let's have the peace first. And I mean, when you have this kind of, sorry, permit me to say,
Yeah.
backward mentality, how can you make progress? It is justice that sows the seeds for peace.
Yeah, peace is the fruit.
Exactly. When you have injustice, how can you have peace? And so when people think, oh, okay, we can use force to enforce, we can just use force to bring about peace, it won't work. So you look at, and now again, peace is not always the absence of conflict, but the ability to manage and transform conflict. So what some of us are doing also is to manage this conflict, transform this conflict to the benefit of all.
Mashallah.
That is exactly what we're doing. So now the next level of meeting is that we're going to bring stakeholders together, community leaders, religious leaders, political leaders together, men and women. Now, because most of these community and religious leaders are elderly in nature, and because of COVID, we decided that we're not going to bring 80 or 100 of them. We've got to be very careful because of age. So we'll probably bring 30 to meet together to brainstorm on the 2nd of March to end the 3 levels of meetings. And then on the 4th of March, we host a Zoom meeting. Brian, have I answered your question now?
Yes, doctor.
So
Yeah.
get ready, because I may be dragging you and Isaac to actually come and help us host that meeting.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
For the
We'll be
match.
happy
Yeah.
to do that.
Right.
We'll be
Yeah.
happy to do that.
And the reason we're doing that is that we believe that there are voices of Southern Kaduna people out there in the diaspora. We need to hear their voices. We need to hear their contribution.
Mashallah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Both Christians and Muslims, no discrimination.
Exactly.
And ask them, what do you think we can do to achieve peace back at home? Give us your contribution physically. If need be, come home and preach the message of peace.
Mashallah. That's amazing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for
I
your
have a lot of
contribution. Right, that's the only thing I can say for now.
my brain has just been, it's like a kid in a candy store, like just all over the place, like all the things that doctor is saying just keep blowing my mind, and it's like food, man. I want to eat all. So but I would just pick the key words I was hearing, and that really struck my imagination, like common good. Although you said there are many things you try avoiding the aspect of maybe examining government involvement. So some of the things, if we really have to talk about common good, we may need to drag the government in. But the thoughts I was having is, for common good, especially if we look at it as the smallest thing that can satisfy a maximum number of people, we'll be talking about value. And if we're talking about value, we need some means of measurement. And from time immemorial, that's even why money was created, to be some sort of if we just look at the properties of money, transferability, optionality, a measure of value, accountability. So now we don't really have money, because like if we use money as a measure of value, then as inflation and other things that are happening, you're not really able to measure, because that ruler keeps changing that you want to use to measure things. So as it keeps changing, you'll be wondering if you're measuring the table, or you're measuring the thing, or the thing is measuring what you're trying to use to measure. So money plays a very important role, and it makes it, we can't even think without it. And I was just telling Isaac that, an example, if I tell somebody how far America is, I may say it in kilometers. They may not be able to. That is far away. You see.
Yeah.
So now, with common good, we need to understand the value of money, because that's even what we use to transact with this, through its property of optionality, paying for services, acquiring things, developing the community. So if the government at this level does not provide that standard for measuring and for accountability, then how can we go ahead?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big challenge, and we have to confront it. And I think whether we like it or not, in Nigeria, many years of neglect by the government has led to all kinds of negative forces to fill in the vacuum. When basic social amenities are not provided and spread across, the anger of people, the resentment of people, the sense of alienation of people can easily be exploited. And this is what we're seeing now. So then they end up preaching what I call hate speech. Unfortunately, sometimes also government is not spared of these offense. Okay, so you have hate speech coming from the pulpits, coming from the churches, the mosque. It's also coming from the bully pulpit of the government. And so if government provided basic things that people needed, I think it's going to reduce some of these incidences of the sense of a feeling of social injustice. It will reduce it. But again, let me also add that the government cannot do everything.
Okay.
And so part of the common good is that the government does its part, and those who have so much, they should be able to help others who are less privileged in a very practical way.
So
How I don't understand how politicians, Brian, I'm coming to you, but I
Yeah.
don't understand how some of our politicians can afford to own houses in London, in the UK, own houses in the US. Now the latest craze is buying houses in Dubai. Some may even be going to Asia to buy houses. So you want in Paris for those who are from francophone countries,
Yeah,
and
Cameroon.
some in other US. Then you have in Dubai or wherever, some of those Middle Eastern countries that are affluent, maybe Kuwait, and then in Nigeria,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
house in your own Kaduna or all over. One person with probably 10 houses. How many bedrooms are you going to sleep in one night?
Inshallah.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello,
we're
yes,
here.
we can hear you,
Yeah.
so we follow.
Yeah. So how many?
How many? Just
So
one.
I think, yeah. So individuals also, apart from government, individuals who are stupendously rich, they need to be able to actually respond to the sufferings and the yearnings of all Nigerians.
So I just like to ask there, when you met with these people, it seems that you have identified like some basic living human amenities, people that people require. If that was the case, what are those amenities that these people are asking for?
Okay, it's a good question. I mean, we haven't yet gone to the point of asking them specifics. I'll tell you that
Okay.
because we are just beginning to say, hey, have confidence, talk to one another. So we are hopeful that we will create interreligious harmony. But they've made some specific recommendations. I will take a look at some of those recommendations, and maybe they can come back to one of our charts when we come together.
All right.
But here's
Exactly.
what we think. Yeah, but here's what I heard from some of the women yesterday. They talked about some of the guys are into drugs. So they said, and but it's not just the woman that said it yesterday. When we were doing some of those meetings in the Meadico place that I told you, you won't believe another meeting we brought everybody together, including the youth. Do you know what the youth said? The Christian youth, and it is the elders that sometimes instigates them to do some of the things they do. And then they said, look, we have a drinking joint where they drink. Unfortunately, they go on drugs. And they said in that joint, when we meet there, Christians. So one of now I heard this way back in 2012.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, 2011. Concern is that government will always talk, there's no money for this, there's no money for that, we can't do this, we can't do that. But in truth, whether we like it or not, there's a bit of squandermania on the part of the government.
Yes.
Government still has lots of money to play around with.
Yes. Yes.
I wish that that money they play around with, they can use it for development purposes.
Mashallah. Yeah, and it goes round. The thing about development is it's like justice, right? All development is a product of justice. Something bad cannot come out of it. You see, I was really thrilled when you also spoke of Einstein. My mind was blown again, and from the works he did,
Absolutely no.
yeah, I I thought of one thing that most people use every day, and but they don't see how it's connected to Einstein. So I'll just say it, and we can continue. So
Yeah.
due to his theory of relativity, that kind of it was almost like an update to physics from the way of thinking that things are absolute. There is one big clock out there beating that everyone is responding to. So with Einstein's works of relativity, it's almost like we have our own clocks, and but the only thing that is constant, that is the same and constant, is the speed of light. So at that
Yes.
time, due to relativity, and that's what even makes it, we all have different ideas of different things. So now, when the satellite is moving around the Earth is moving around the sun, they all have different speeds. And if you're using your GPS, how are you gonna know? How would the GPS know to tell you 10 left at the right time? Why will it not say it after you've passed where you're supposed to turn? So, and it has to consider your location, which again, due to longitude and latitude, your time zone, it may be different, but it knows all of those things. So Einstein's theories really help in capturing these things that are dynamic and they're all over the place, but then they need consensus and harmony. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to drop that about Einstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's a valid point.
Yeah. It has to do with trust. Now, sir, I like to also ask, sir. Although you have not met with the government, and you have also highlighted some of the things that you hope to talk with the government, but I will still just ask it, to say, what would be your expectations? Having heard from all these people, what will you be discussing with the government, and what would be your expectations from the government, in terms of bringing this violence, to a rest?
To, it's to Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Have you heard don't Isaac, have you heard this expression? Don't count your chicks before they hatch. Have you heard that?
Yes, I've heard that.
Thank you.
I've heard that.
Okay, so
All right.
we listed out three activities we've done to our report to the government, and I think let the report speak for
Okay.
itself what the expectations of the people are. And then the government, if indeed democracy is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, I expect that the government should actually think how to do to help the people. I really pray, honestly, the attitude to governance needs to change drastically in this nation. What we're currently experiencing and going, the way we're going about things is unsustainable.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is.
Yes.
I mean,
So
sustainable development. If we look at it, especially Nigeria, that does a lot of trade, and I like how, let's say, if you see the Igbo people understand that they know how to capture value and do business. If you have a shop and the business cannot help you pay for the shop, then what are you doing? It's not sustainable.
exactly,
So, sir,
exactly.
we have been talking for some time. I mean, Brian, how long have we been talking now?
Our stream has
Um,
been up for 1 hour 45 minutes, so we can go on,
yeah,
Doctor. But if you want to jump out anytime, please let us know.
yeah.
But so
I
yeah, sorry.
I let me just say, because of the initial disruption we had, I'd wanted to share a few things about uh, um, the principles of conflict resolution,
Okay.
especially
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that we could leave this and hope that when we have another chat,
Okay.
maybe after we're done with some of our three meetings, we could be able to combine both what's on paper and what
Okay.
it's. Don't plan that we just have meetings, peace meetings, and that's all. No, we want to see some
Yes,
tangible
Yeah.
come out of this. We want to see
yes,
some of the communities now actually engaging, because the theme for some of this pilot project that we're doing is interreligious harmony for peaceful coexistence in southern Kaduna. So that's what we hope, that at the end of it, not just at the end of, because it's the pilot project ends in March.
Yeah.
We pray that we will be able to see substantial movement towards people integrating together and
Mashallah.
experiencing harmony. It takes time, but we hope to see that. Or maybe for Brian and Isaac, if you were with us yesterday, both with the women and the youth, we were chanting something. And I like to, which is our hashtag. So if both of you can help us popularize it, I'll
Okay.
be very glad. Okay.
I'll be
Sometimes when
happy to
you're
do.
on the field, you can't lead the songs back at home.
Hmm.
So
Mashallah.
and you can lead the song, you can dictate the dance steps, others
Yeah.
have to
Right.
do it. So our hashtag went something like this: I peace SK. I
I.
hyphen
Yeah.
peace SK.
Okay,
And so what and then we now say I stand for peace in southern Kaduna.
Aduna.
So when I
Oh,
echo, I stand for I peace,
Yeah.
and then the
yeah.
the participants, the women, chorus back. I stand for
Stand
peace
for
in
peace
southern
in
Kaduna.
Southern Kaduna. All right, nice.
Mashallah.
We can
I
try it
see.
now.
Yeah.
I peace.
I
I
stand
stand
for
for
peace
peace
in
in
Southern
Southern
Kaduna.
Kaduna.
Wow, you guys, you
Mashallah.
are excellent students. You took over, you learned faster than the participants.
You
Mashallah. I
are a very
stand for
good teacher.
peace.
You made it very simple.
Yeah. I
Let's
stand.
go again. I peace SK.
I stand
I
for
stand for
peace
peace
in
in
Southern
Southern Kaduna.
Kaduna. Mashallah.
Now
And
I'm
I can
clapping
give you
for
a
you.
salute. I can give
Thank
you
you.
a salute. Yeah. So
Thank you very
so
much, sir.
thanks. There is a question. Um, but before the question, I have this thought. Uh, doctor, you had said that some people told you how when they are in the social circles and drinking or interacting, they have underneath, and so that we can take their drug or their drink from an abstract level, because let's say if we're drinking like soft drinks and I'm drinking an apple juice and you're drinking an orange juice, but because we're drinking we get to forget our conflicts. At that point, that drink, as abstract as it is, has dissolved that conflict. So it looks like it's the same you're doing with religion, where you're looking at religion as an abstract entity. So it's like that drink. You see that? So it doesn't matter if I'm drinking orange juice or if I'm drinking
That's another way to look at it, but and which I again I don't put it off, because quite frankly, the taste of Coke is the same exactly for the Christian as it is for the Muslim. The Coke doesn't change because it's being drunk by a Muslim. The taste doesn't change
yeah,
because it's being drunk by a Christian. The taste is basically the same, okay?
mashallah, yeah,
So the other way to say is that the fruit of peace is beneficial to everybody. Christian,
mashallah,
Muslim, pagans alike.
mashallah.
Mm.
Okay, now
And,
the
and,
now
and,
the
and I'm
comment.
just looking like I'm sure maybe this is what you have taught or you have done. Like, oh, you also, I mean, those people find their universal peace.
Exactly. And but the idea, also Isaac, the idea they were really bringing, it's not to say that they even find their peace in those drinks. They're basically saying that the differences that we have in our communities, it basically doesn't exist when they meet in their joints.
Hmm. So
Their
that means that
cultural
that joint is a good place to talk about the gospel, to talk about the message of
absolute
peace.
is out to drug addicts.
Hmm.
Mashallah.
Those are the kinds of people that can go to those kind of places. They go with the gospel and we go with the message of peace. But of course, somebody like me, I combine both the gospel and also the message of peace.
Message
So I
of
can easily
peace.
combine both together because I've been working with young people. You know,
Mm.
the sad
That's
thing
great.
is that they also say some of the women cried out that these drugs is also part of vocation.
Yeah. Let's see.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just
That's,
thinking here, probably, sir, maybe you know him, Pastor Ayashim. Pastor Ayashim is a pastor, a young pastor from Southern Kaduna. He has
Yes,
also been, he has also, Ayashim Stanley, Pastor Ayashim Stanley, is
yeah,
an
he's in
Equa pastor.
Kaduna, isn't he?
Yes, yes, but
Yes.
at the moment, I think he's in the US
Okay.
studying there. Yes,
Okay.
I know that
yes,
that
I
was
remember. Yeah.
his calling into the missionary job.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, Pastor Ayashim, if you are hearing, this is a ministry for you. I'm
Yeah.
sure your daddy here, Dr. Gideon Para, would be happy, to work with you, and
My joy.
Mashallah.
yes, yes,
My joy. In fact, let any day tell my brother Yashim that any day he visits Nigeria, he's coming to Jos, we will try and link him up with some of those guys that do similar things that he's doing amongst drug addicts. We all need to put our hands together.
good,
Mashallah. So
good.
the
I'm sure
comment from
Ayashim
the
is listening.
audience. So Cole Jackson says greetings to the honorable doctor. How do we reconcile the fact that young people rise up to leadership positions with great promise of change, and yet turn out in the long to be exactly the people they have been condemning prior to their ascending to power? Let's look at the case of most African leaders who, as youth, were great visionaries, e.g., Biya of Cameroon, late Mugabe,
Is his name Stanley or what did you say is his name?
Cole Jackson. Cole Jackson. He's in
Paul
China.
Jackson.
Yes, a
Honestly,
Cameroonian from
I
China.
must I must commend him for that question. That is a very excellent question. And that is part of the puzzle that some of us have been thinking about. So yeah, that I personally identify with that question. I've seen young people who have gone in there, they become worse than some of the oldies, and it's very unfortunate. However, I do not think that all the young people are like that.
Okay.
But the first concern and question that comes to my mind is the need for proper mentoring. Are you mentored by the right people? Are you mentored by the good ideals from the Bible or the good ideals from the Quran? Or you are mentored with the kind of religious values that allows religion to be lip service while the power of change and transformation is completely missing. But let me say this. Paul Kagame became, he's made a significant difference. I was in Kigali in Rwanda, I think in 2016. I listened to his personal story. And he started as a young man, but he had a vision to transform Rwanda. Now, he may have stayed long in power, but that's a discussion, a totally different topic. But the truth is that within that period that he stepped in there in 1998, after the unfortunate Rwandan genocide in which we lost nearly 1 million Rwandese, he has been working. Now, honestly, he's succeeding. The story of Rwanda, it's different. So that is one man that went as a young man and has made a difference. It needs to be recognized. It needs to be respected. Now, let me come to immediate post-colonial Africa. How old was Kwame Nkrumah when he took over Ghana, the first independent black nation in Africa? Study his age.
Isaac, do you know?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Man,
Can you check it up?
actually, yeah, but I'm very glad because these are
He can
things
just
that I
tell
need to
us.
know. Yeah.
Doctor can just tell us how we proceed.
No, I honestly, I didn't quite calculate it, but I want to
Okay,
calculate it.
Yeah.
your brain
Because
can.
the idea is that most of these people, they were very young people when they were engaged in the struggle for the decolonization of Africa.
Uh-huh.
They came in
Yes, they
as
were
young,
young. They were young,
significant
as young,
change. And they really
quite
made
young,
significant
under
changes.
30s.
Yes. Now you think about uh, Petres Lumumba of Congo. Some of these guys got killed a little bit early. They honestly would have made a huge difference for the continent of Africa. But unfortunately, military coups that came to displace most of them, killed most of them. Honestly, some of the military coups in Africa took us back by far. So I'm simply saying that young people have made genuine contribution to transform Africa. But unfortunately, most of them were cut short in their prime. And now we have these people who have become sit tight leaders. They go in there, they don't want to go. Now, the case of Nigeria is even worse. It's a recycling of the same old people every now and then. Unfortunately, the younger people who have come, they're basically reminding me of the story of Solomon and his sons. My
Mashallah.
father made your burdens. You thought my father was unfair to you. I will show you it's going to be worse for you. The sons of one of the sons of King Solomon that took over from him, he basically made the burdens of Israel worse. And what did the rest of the tribes do? They just rebelled, quite frankly, and they pulled out.
Yeah.
So I want to say to Cole that the issue of mentoring is a major issue. And maybe because, and I don't know if you're a young man in asking this question, I think the young people should speak to themselves. The popular but now late American evangelist Billy Graham used to say something, and I mean, I sometimes when I'm preaching, I say it, people laugh, but it means a lot. It says it takes a chicken to evangelize a chicken.
Wow. They speak the
Young
same language.
people, young people will have to be the only people to speak to young people in the language that they understand to bring about change. Because many of our young people that have gone into politics, I'm not saying all, but many of them have been a huge disappointment. Now, by the way, let's even talk Nigeria. How old was General Yakubu Gowon when he became head of state in Nigeria? And as to the best of my knowledge, most of the development you see in Nigeria today, the blueprint was laid by General Gowon when he was a young military head of state. So let me test the brain. How old was General Gowon? This one I have the answer, at least I can give it to you now.
Sorry? I think
Ah,
40.
ah. General, I think he was 27.
27. Oh my God.
How old was Hello, Brian, did you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. I will borrow the answer from Isaac. He says 27.
Yeah, Isaac, how old was he?
He says
I think
27.
it was 27.
Okay, it's good. Isaac used the word thing, so you're correct, Isaac. Actually, if you still hear me, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he was 28,
Oh wow.
either 28 or 32.
Still
But now,
young age.
yeah, very young age.
Very young age for a
He
president.
was
Very,
able to
very quite young age.
prosecute a civil war and manage to keep Nigeria as one.
Exactly.
Look at some of the old people who are in power now. I'm sorry to say this. I don't mean to be rude to anybody, but there's more that is being done to divide the country than uniting the country. And I think we should be sorry for ourselves. Back to my point again of the issue of mentorship. So, Cole, mentorship is one thing we need to do. The second thing is that peer pressure. Let the chickens witness to the chickens. Let the chickens preach to the chickens. So let the young people confront their fellow young people as peers and hold them accountable. And it's possible. because young people are powerful. You can't dismiss young people. I mean, John F. Kennedy became president of the United States of America, the youngest, at the age of 40. Now, till tomorrow, people are still talking about John Kennedy. Ask not what America will do for you. Ask what you can do for America, your country. So
Yeah.
basically, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your young Nigerian example of our Ahmed became head of state. I probably at the young age of 39, but within 6 months, he made his mark. There may be some questions in terms of rashness and abrasiveness in governance, in the fact that some think he's destroyed the civil service, but you can't take away this from him. He was an action leader, and he got everybody to sit up.
Hmm.
Mashallah.
Well, interesting.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
These are the people that we need to mentor us. Yeah, these are the people that should be role models. These are people that when they rule Nigeria now, any
Christians and most empowerment is gonna like of action. And when I read it too, sorry, when I listen to to Doctor, I also remember reading Gaddafi's work, the Green Book. It really
Yeah.
inspired me when I read it, like to see myself. He made very simple arguments to shatter party systems. That if party simple arguments, if party A wins, they enforce their own rules. If party B wins, they repeal the rules of A and put their own rules. And it's like a ping pong game that you're playing with people, so they can keep pushing it to several levels of representation. That may be something else, but so long as like the women met, the youth will meet, another set will meet, then you can start organizing the collection of data, and then the society at large can be like this computer that processes that data to realize the actions that are necessary.
Isaac, I think you better fly Brand to come here and be in one of these meetings so he can help us, join us in not only collecting the data that we've so far collected, he can help us in processing it to bring something out. But thank you,
Mashallah.
Brian, for talking about Gaddafi. And I'll just say this, and it's important I say this,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Gaddafi was one of the young revolutionary military colonels that came into power and made a significant difference in his own country.
Mashallah.
But he suffered from the syndrome of what I would like to describe as the personalization of power.
Okay.
He personalized power. He turned power to become, um, um,
Gaddafi.
yeah,
Talks.
yes, Gaddafi, Muhammad Gaddafi, a source of advancement for his own family. He did very well for the people of Libya, yes, but he personalized power. Gaddafi was killed, and up till tomorrow, I feel sad. I said the intervention the Western world did on Gaddafi was wrong. I still think it's wrong.
Yeah. Me too.
That's not the way to solve our problem. I personally feel that the arrogant leader in what is his name again? That prime minister that was always struggling, he ended up marrying a tall woman that is always struggling to look at his wife up there. He married this model. What is his name? I can't get his name again. Honestly, I've forgotten his name.
Prime Minister in Africa or Europe?
No, in France. He's the guy that moved and
Okay.
convinced
Okay.
and Obama to get involved in that misadventure in Gaddafi. And in fact, some of the problems we are suffering today is as a result of what they did there. Is it Sarkozy or
Oh,
Sarkozy?
Nicolas
Sarkozy
Sarkozy.
was the president, yeah, of France, yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
Nicolas Sarkozy. Yes.
Sarkozy, yeah,
yes.
Sarkozy, yeah, very
That
true, yeah.
honestly, that arrogant leader, this some people, some European politicians, honestly, they have a mentality that is complicating things for us in Africa. I'm sorry to say this, but it was a misadventure. So,
Yeah.
but Gaddafi should never have played into the hands of the West. So he personalized power. The second thing also is that Gaddafi, honestly, whether we admit it or not, because one of the things that will help us in Africa is to be truthful to ourselves. One of the things that I personally believe that will help in bringing sustainable peace is for the truth to be told. So justice and truth, they have to go together in resolving conflict and in also promoting, in engaging in positive peace building. So Gaddafi went on to promote Islam.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That singular commitment to promote Islam and spread Islam all across Africa created more problems than solving them.
Yeah, I see.
Good ideas on the green book, but what did he do in the end?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, let's see.
I
So,
don't excuse the West for doing what they did to him, but I also don't excuse Gaddafi for doing what he did to the rest of Africa. And thirdly, he had this vision of creating a united Africa, perhaps so that he can be the president of all Africa. I mean, that, I
that's
mean,
a lot.
you know, intoxication of power.
Yeah.
So personalization of power, his vision of Islamizing all of Africa, whether we admit it or not. Yes, he was promoting that.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
the intoxication of power. I think those three things complicated things for him and for the rest of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but Brian, if you had this, but some of the guys fighting in Mali, fighting in Cameroon, fighting in Nigeria, honestly, are some of the Islamic fighters that went to those to Libya, and when things fell apart, they simply just melted into the rest of Africa, West Africa, and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just creating complications for us. And then they met with other local elements, and things are just getting complicated more and more.
Yeah.
That's what Isaac was describing as hydra-headed problems.
Yeah.
So you have the foreign elements there, but the foreign element can never succeed unless the local element acquiesce.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Well, I mean, I hope, I really do hope that we all can start realizing ourselves as human beings, because a human being is an action being. Like, if I'm
Yeah,
waving my hand, is because I have that will to wave it. So this is some action that I'm performing. It would have been playing the drum, or it would have been doing
yeah,
some other action for my society, or making one step towards uh, some objective. So we really need to educate ourselves too. But that's an old song that we keep singing all the time. But we need to have this mindset. I mean, it's like an operating system, because if you look at the computer, it's either Windows or Mac OS, or for your phone, Android or iOS, that allows you to use the hardware, the camera, all of those things. Is that operating system? The soul too is like the operating system for the body. So, but if you don't train it with some education, it's like Windows not being able to even use the camera of your laptop or something. So
I agree.
education needs to really make us action beings. We have taught computers how to act, and they're doing a marvelous job. Then we humans are here. We can't even act on our own things. If we don't
Yeah,
act, we may not go anywhere.
I agree. Thank
So
you so much.
yeah, thank you too. So with that, I think we can round up. This was a
Yep.
wonderful talk. Shout out to Blueberry Onions. I see you're from Twitch. This is the first comment we have from Twitch. The screen that I have is actually pointing to Facebook, so I'm not really looking at Twitch now. But shout out to you. Thanks for tuning in. Uh, this was a wonderful conversation for me. So before we drop out, Doctor, do you have anything to say? The whole thing has been like a lot of wisdom. I'm sure I'm growing some gray hair here that I have to cut up from the wisdom. But
Yeah,
anything to say before we split?
yeah. It's to thank you for you and Isaac for inviting me to your top topo spaces.
Yeah.
have enjoyed it. I like the way you really turn it into a very easy, soft version of a fire chat, which is
Mashallah.
nice. And I also want to apologize because of the initial setback I experienced with my connection. It was so problematic, but
No
I'm
worries.
glad that I managed to get that problem fixed, and we could have a prolonged conversation.
Yeah,
So
no
thank you
worries.
very much,
Thank
and
you.
to our viewers, those who devoted time to listen to us, to sit through to us, and especially that question that came through. I want to thank you for listening, and to say we shouldn't give up on peace. Let's continue to work for peace, and let's continue to work for peace without religious colors, without ethnic colors, but let's work for peace for the common good.
Mashallah.
Thank
I,
you very much, sir.
yeah.
I
Isaac,
mean,
anything?
no, nothing. Just to say thank you very much, sir, for your passion. I mean, it only takes passion for somebody to do this. I've not been with you on the field, but your voice, the sound of your voice, reveals how your heart is on this. And just to say that God will continue to bless you. You are not
Thank you.
old at all. Instead, God will continue to give you good energy that you become younger and younger so that you push us to the limits, the level that you can push us before people like my Clement and myself, whom you are mentoring now, because you've mentored a lot of people, I'm sure. For me, I'm sure you've mentored me, myself, and Brian, and all
Mashallah.
other young people who have watched,
I have gray
and
hair, man.
hopefully we will not disappoint. Thank you very
Thank you.
much, sir.
Yeah, thank
Let's
you.
go again.
Yeah.
I Peace SK.
I
I
stand
stand
for
for peace
peace
in
in Southern
Southern
Kaduna.
Kaduna.
Wow, you
Mashallah.
got 100 plus 100%.
Mashallah. So
Thank you
thank
very
you
much,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
God bless you.
thank you very
Thank you.
much. Please consider this
Yeah.
Bye
as
bye.
one of the countless number of episodes that we have with Dr. Gideon. And feel free to, Doctor, please, we'll try to collaborate off the network so we can have more events. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Have a good one.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
God bless.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.